Hello, fellow movie crusaders, and welcome to our latest episode. My name's Sean Wasserkrug. With me, as always, is Brian Michaels. And today we're going to be doing our review of one of our most anticipated films of the year, as well as probably one of our most anticipated films of the summer, and that is The Fall Guy. This is a non-spoiler review attached with a spoiler discussion. So we're going to do our non-spoiler little review, and then we're flipping on the spoilers, and we're talking about whatever the hell we want. So for the first probably 5-10 minutes, guys, spoiler free. After that, get the fuck out, go watch The Fall Guy, come on back, listen to what we have to say. But yeah, this is a movie that, like I say, if you guys watched our summer movie preview that we talked about last week, and hell, you could have even gone back to the most anticipated films of 2024 back in January, we have been so excited to see this film. I said it on our summer episode that I can't remember the last time Brian and I were this excited about a non-franchise comic book sequel film that was just kind of something on its own. In a very long, probably since for Brian In the Heights, I honestly can't remember the last movie that was a non-MCU franchise thingy that was this amped up for. Brian got to see it way earlier than me. He got to see it on Wednesday night. I had to wait till Friday night to see it. So I'm probably gonna have to lead Brian up through this because it's been a while.
I'm old. I have a short memory.
It's been 5 days since Brian's seen the movie. It's only been a couple days for me. But let's go to you first, Brian. What were your general thoughts going into it? What'd you think of it? Non-spoiler aspects of this.
Well, going into it, if you look at the anticipated shows, obviously I was super excited to see this. You got David Leitch directing it, who, is one of my favorite directors working today. He's one of the best action directors working today, and for good reason, because it came from the stunt community, which more and more directors are coming from there, and I think it's a great thing. And obviously this being like the love letter to the stunt community, I was excited to kind of see that side of it, because everything he does with his people at 87 North is amazing, from the John Wick films and Violent Night and everything else they do. Ryan Gosling, obviously on fire. He's kind of in that zone of the kind of character that we enjoy watching the most in.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, Emily Blunt is always great. Aaron Taylor Johnson, we love here. So everything in this movie, Winston Duke, Hannah Waddington, everything in this movie is just screams like this movie was made for us. So I was super excited going into this movie. I'll say for the first half hour, maybe the first third of the movie, not quite, I was a little worried. Not that I was going to dislike it, but it wasn't quite living up to, it wasn't filling all my expectations and being this awesome thing that I wanted it to be. And some of that, I think, is that it does, especially in those early scenes, it leans way into kind of the love story aspect of it with him and Emily Blunt and the history of their relationship. Some of those scenes linger on a little bit long. And I was kind of like, this is nice and all, but it's not the movie I want to see. But I mean, it's still fun, all the behind the scenes stuff as they're filming the movie, things like that. It's tons of fun, but it wasn't quite grabbing me as much as I wanted it to. But after that, once the movie really kind of takes off, once you get that plot kickoff, I had a blast with this movie. It's not a perfect movie. I mean, there are other times, again, kind of because of the love story, which I don't mind in the movie, but it lingers a little bit too long. Sometimes kind of kills the pace as the movie's going. So it's not a perfect movie, but I just enjoyed the hell out of this. I think that every one of the actors, I think, was perfect for their role. I think that the stunts were super duper impressive. And I loved, not only just seeing them perform the stunts, but then kind of seeing behind the scenes of how they do the stunts. And then actually, if you watch the end credits, they actually have some behind the scenes footage of them performing those stunts. I will once again plug on Peacock, a show called Action, 6-episode series following 87 North as they made Violent Night and this movie. It goes way more in depth on them filming the stunts for this movie. It's a lot of fun. And what's funny is I also recognized a lot of the real stuntmen that they have walk-on roles in this movie as characters in this film, as well as being stuntmen obviously in the film. So love that aspect of it. Trying to think. I'll get into a little bit more in the spoiler section of it, but for now I'll stop and let you talk.
Yeah, and I said this on the summer preview. I was like, I am so worried that our expectations are up here, and it's not going to match it, and we're going to end up just not enjoying this film or liking this movie. And Brian said it kind of perfectly. It's like, we're gonna like it. It just depends on what level we're going to like this movie. And I kind of, what's funny is you and I both love this movie. This is a very, very positive review you guys are going to be getting here, because I loved this movie. Brian loved this movie. But the things that bothered Brian are the things that I actually loved more about the film. I really liked the first act.
And I think just enough for a second. I think that might have more to do with my expectations of the movie, because like I'm planning on seeing it again, like probably a couple times, but very soon, like Monday or Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm going to see it this week again, and I think going in there without expectations of what it is or isn't going to be, I think that those things will probably bother me less. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I will say I felt like this movie was made specifically for people like us who are like, and I'm not saying that we're in the community, we're in the show, because we're not. We would like to be, but we're not. But it's very much, and I would say this in a way that Brian will get it, but not fully. But you're gonna understand what I'm saying here. There's a lot of inside baseball in this. There's a lot of jokes that are very much inside the film community, especially around stunt work. That those jokes are probably gonna go right over people's heads if they don't know what stunts are felt like in Hollywood, and how there needs to be an Oscar for stunts, and how they're not treated like equal individuals, even though they're doing most of the shit. There's a jab at Tom Cruise at one point in the movie that I thought was fucking hilarious, but I seem to be the only person in the theater that was laughing at it, because I get it. You know, there are jokes in this movie that, if you know, like what me and Brian know, it's funny. But if you're not in the know, then it's gonna be like, it's just talking. I loved how it started, how they literally are explaining like stunts. And I love that it's Gosling's character explaining it, because it gets to one point where it's like, well, then there's Tom. You guys fucking know who Tom Ryder. You know, he's the most popular, actor around. I loved how they structured this film. I loved how we got kind of the build of that he was this hot shot stunt man. Like, he was God. He was invincible. Like, nothing could touch him. He could do any stunt perfectly and all this kind of stuff. And then all you need is one wrong move, one wrong step, much like any athlete who thinks they're unstoppable. And then one wrong step, one wrong hit, and boom, your career's in shambles. And his was more of it was physical, but it was more a mental thing. And I love the way Gosling plays this character. He plays it so brilliantly in this film. And what makes this movie work as well as it does is the on-screen chemistry between him and Emily Blunt.
Mm-hmm.
I bought their relationship throughout this film. I bought their angst towards each other, or mainly her angst towards him in this film. There's a particular scene that was a highlight of the movie for me, where she takes out her frustrations on him on set. You know the scene I'm talking about, and I don't want to go any further, but I love that they did it in that atmosphere than just kind of like them like talking in a room alone like they would do in most movies. And it's like, no, we're going to do this in front of everybody. Everyone's going to know what we're doing. We're trying to hide it, but you're not doing a very good job. Everyone gets it. Everyone's in on it. I loved that scene so fucking much. It was a highlight of the movie for me. I agree. The stunts are fantastic. Hannah Waddingham, who I love from, or Waddingham, sorry, who I love from Ted Lasso. I wish her character wasn't so cartoonish.
She was a little bit over the top, I thought.
But I feel like that was what the character needed. I think it was more how they wrote her character. I don't blame her for it. I blame kind of the writing, because that's one thing with Leach, is that he's very good with the stunts, much like Snyder is with visuals and Bayes with explosions. Leach is great with the stunt work. His writing leaves a little to be desired, but I think that writing for the most part is actually really good in this movie. It's just her character and a little bit of Aaron Taylor Johnson's character. They could have been written a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. Well, the writer of this, David Leitch doesn't do any writing. The writer of this was Drew Pearce.
Well, I'm talking about like his directing and like maybe toning them down or toning them back a little bit. That's a director's decision at that point. But I liked their performances in it. There's one moment with Aaron Taylor Johnson that I'm going to bring up in the spoiler review that I was just downright giddy, and I seem to be, once again, the only person in the theater that was laughing at this moment, because I got it. My girlfriend got it, but I don't think she thought it was nearly as funny as I did. But it to me, I was like just almost in tears laughing so hard at the moment. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about or not.
I think I do.
But
It's all right.
Exactly. Yes, I was in tears that whole thing. But I thought it was great. There's these moments with a dog that I was like, this is gonna go real corny, but you know what? It fucking works so goddamn well. There is, like I said, it's not a perfect film, but it's damn near perfect in what I want.
Oh, I left that movie, I think because the way it ends, because it ends like the best stuff is kind of at the end.
Yeah.
And then especially with this behind the scenes stuff, I left that place with a smile on my face.
And
Big.
there's
I can't remember the last time I left a movie with smiling like that.
Post credit scene, not end of credits, but once they get through like these stunts part, they actually have a legitimate post credit scene for it. So stick around through the trailers so you get to see what the actual endpoint of the film is. But yeah, I was smiling through this whole movie, and when the movie ended, I was still smiling. I had a blast watching this movie. I thought this cast was fantastic. Winston Duke, I love it. He needs to be in more shit.
And I will say that you mentioned how the relationship with Emily Blunt felt authentic. I think all the relationships in this movie, I think Ryan Gosling's relationship with Winston Duke felt super authentic. They felt like friends who had also been coworkers. Now that one had been
the coordinator. Is all the relationships felt lived in.
Yeah.
You felt he's known Gail for 15 years. He's known Dan for a long time, to the point where they have their own little thing where he quotes movies and then he makes them guess it. Like they have this built-in inside friendship thing. And
even his kind of love-hate relationship with Tom Ryder, because he's clearly been a stunt double for a while. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So like all these, the chemistry of this cast is a fucking amazing cast. Even the lead bodyguard dude, who looked a lot like one of the wrestlers that I used to know, named Buddy Matthews, or people might know him as Buddy Murphy. I was like, oh, look, it's Buddy Murphy's stunt double. I was like, this guy's actually pretty solid too. He doesn't get a lot of lines in the movie, but he's good at the physicalness, probably because he's a real life, stunt man who's just cast in this role. But this movie was so much fun. It's so much fun, and I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. And there are other moments. There's little moments here or there that are writing or like plot holes or things where things don't quite match up, or they're cut, or they're doing something stupid that really, if you just took 5 seconds to think, you would have done this and it would have fixed so many problems. There's times where there's like conversations where if you just fucking talk, this would be cleared up in 2 seconds, but you don't. So there's like little things like that here and there. And I do think Stephanie, is it Stephanie Sue?
Sue, I don't know how you pronounce it.
She is, I was excited when I saw her on the cast, and she's literally relegated to like one scene in this movie.
Yeah, she's essentially one scene. And Teresa Palmer, who is not like an A-list actress, but she's a name, and she's also essentially in one scene of the movie. And I thought she was going to come back in later, and she really doesn't.
If there was a weak part of the movie, it was her performance. I think her accent was really bad in that scene. I was actually glad that she wasn't in a whole lot more, because like that scene kind of didn't work for me to a point. And it was mainly because of her and not Gosling. But Gosling's on fire in this movie. Emily Blunt is so fucking adorably lovable in this movie, because she isn't like everything, but she really, really is in this movie. Like I said, I loved her back and forth with Gosling. Winston Duke is great and everything. He needs to be in way more things than he is. He's not being utilized effectively in Hollywood. He needs to be utilized way fucking more. I just watched Us again this weekend with the girlfriend because she had never seen it. And I was just like, see, Winston Duke is so great. Like, why don't people use him anymore? Like, he's so good. He's so good.
I saw somewhere where Winston Duke said that he wanted to lobby to be Batman or something like that. I'm like, I'm down for it.
I'm okay with that. Either make him Batman.
The internet will lose its fucking mind because they're a bunch of fucking idiots. Yeah. But
make him Batman or make him Bane. I would be cool with either of those choices. But yeah, at the end of the day, Brian, what was your final? What was your score? What was your rating for it?
I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a chance in the future I could just bump it up to 5, but I rarely give those out to start with. But for now, it's a solid 4.5, and it's easily so far my number 1 film of the year.
This movie, I'm literally, my girlfriend and I were literally sitting at dinner after this movie ended, and we're talking about the film, we're going over it, and I was like, okay, I'm trying to figure out where I want to place this. I was like, it's in the top 2. It's between this and Dune. I was like, I gave Dune a 94%. I was like, I thought visually, cinematically, it's the perfect movie for being a movie. I go, Fall Guy is the perfect action stunt movie. It's fun as hell. I enjoy the hell out of it. They're both like right here. Which one do I put at the one spot? And she's like, well, if it was me, she goes, I would do Fall Guy. And I go, why? I go, explain to me why. I'm like, I'm not saying you're wrong, but I want to hear your mindset on this. And she's like, I just had way more fun with it. And she loved Dune. She did. And she's like, I just had way more fun with it. I go, you know what? I go, I'm going to take a little book out of Brian's little head here where he, even though it's the wrong fucking thought, where he said, I would watch Rebel Moon 10 times before I would watch Dune Part 2. My thought process is I would watch The Fall Guy 10 times before I would watch Dune Part 2 again. And that I love Dune. So I'm going to give The Fall Guy also a 94%, but it gets the tiebreak over Dune for number one movie of the year right now, because it's so much fucking fun. And I can't wait to revisit it and watch it again. There's so many great lines. My girlfriend and I are already constantly doing this to each other and just having fun with it.
This?
Don't holster that. Yeah, you holster that thing.
Which I want to say, I mentioned this in my review as well. I found it odd that because I would watch this movie. I'd seen the trailers for this movie before every single movie I've watched in the last like 3 months.
Yeah.
And I would watch this movie and I was noticing so many lines that were either cut out of a scene
or changed,
or that were clearly an alternate take or delivered a different way and things like that. And that happens in movies, especially with first trailers usually, which the weird part is most of the ones in this one that I noticed, because as soon as I got in my car, I watched both trailers and there was like 5-6 moments in the newest trailer that weren't in there and a couple in the old one that weren't. And it's like, I don't think it didn't hurt the movie. I like the ones in the trailer, and a lot of times there were additional lines that would have been funny, so I don't know why they cut them. I just found it odd that there was just so many in there, especially when they were good lines. It's weird.
That and not having any Bon Jovi in the movie, that was a choice, because I've constituted Bon Jovi to this movie because of the trailers.
I mean, obviously they always use different songs for the. I will say the soundtrack for this movie. I loved the soundtrack for this movie.
They literally used the same. I'm blanking on the song. It's the song that starts the movie. They did like an acoustic.
I Was Made for Loving You with Kiss.
Yes.
That's actually incorporated into the score too.
Yes, I was saying, like, they actually made like an acoustic score version of that.
And then there's a cover version of it by someone, I don't know who the singer was.
I was like, man, they really, really want this song to be the song that you remember this movie.
But there was multiple songs, that one, and then the Phil Collins karaoke song.
Yes.
And some other stuff. Oh, it was.
Which Emily Blunt sings and knocks it out of the park.
The soundtrack is great. And I haven't like noticed a soundtrack in a long time, honestly.
Oh yeah. But anyway, he gave it 4.5 stars. Mine was a 94, which is a 4.5 star, which is like literally 1% away from being a 5-star film. We hope you guys enjoyed the non-spoiler part of this review. Definitely go check this out. This is a highest of high recommendation. And I've already heard what the box office numbers for this. People are already calling this movie a fucking flop. Shut the fuck up. It's the summer had just started. People are still working or in school, all this kind of stuff. This is a movie, like I said in the summer movie preview, that's going to hopefully have legs. And it's going to build and build and build. Stop already calling this movie a flop when it's just got its first 3 days in box office. Word of mouth is what's going to sell this movie. It's not Blunt, it's not Gosling, it's not Leach. It is the fun excitingness of this film. And that is what's going to give this movie legs. So the highest of highest recommendations from Brian and I. This is both our number one film of the year, which with only a month left to go before we go our half-year review, we probably just already spoiled that shit.
Spoiler.
Yeah, spoiler. We already know what our number one movie of the year is.
I mean, there's some strong contenders coming up with Furiosa and Planet and stuff, but
there is. But this is gonna be really hard to get overtaken here in this brief of time. So here's now your warning. We are now going into spoiler territory. So if you guys have not seen Fall Guy, pause this. Go see the Fall Guy. Go see it twice, and then come back and listen to us talk about this part because this is our spoiler review. Here comes the big icon popping up there. 3, 2, 1. All right, let's talk about spoilers. Yes, the moment with Aaron Taylor Johnson, when he is about ready to do his big scene, I'm like, because I'm sitting there watching, I'm like, okay, let's see. I'm like, he's like 3 lines, not even 3 lines, and I go, is he fucking Matthew McConaughey in this? And like everyone goes, I'm pretty sure he is. And then he was like, I was like listening, and he goes, love. And I'm like, oh my God, he is. And I'm like, I love this.
It's kind of easy to, because when he first started his speech, and my first thought was, man, he has a really wimpy voice for a guy that's trying to give this rousing speech.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if he'll make a good, Bond or whatever, because it seems like he has kind of a mousy voice. And I'm like, but he leaned more into it and he heard the accent. And I'm like, oh, he's totally doing Matthew McConaughey. And
Oh
it
yeah,
worked.
like honestly,
It worked.
if you're afraid of him being Bond, just watch Bullet Train.
Yeah.
He's gonna do that voice for Bond if he's doing anything. But when he's going, love is what's gonna overcome all this, and I'm just waiting for the all right. I was like, and then he kept going when he gets in the car and he's like, this is gonna be another alien killing, and I'm just like, I love that he is not deviating away from this. I love that this is his focal point, and this is what he thought this character was going to be.
I was honestly waiting for them to cut back to Emily Blunt being like, is he doing Matthew McConaughey?
And I love that he like cried during it because he felt so. And I was like, dude, I was in tears, and I was the only person laughing at this in the theater. Which I was like, either you guys didn't get the joke, but like this, like there's no way that he did this without this intentionally being the joke.
Oh, clearly.
And I was like, apparently, I felt like I was the only person that either A, knew it outside of my girlfriend, or B, actually thought it was fucking hilarious because I was in tears watching.
I'd be willing to bet most of the rest of the audience just like, why is he doing a funny accent?
Yeah, I'm just like, I was like, oh, he sounds like Matthew McConaughey. Okay, and I'm just like, I'm over here just laughing my ass off. I fucking love that so goddamn much. But yeah, I loved how this movie started. How he basically kind of explains what stuntmen are like, how they're utilized, how they make everyone look good and don't show your faces. And I even liked how they set the table up in the beginning where he's shooting the one scene and they're making him redo it because it's too much face, stuff like that. Which is like, yeah, that's something that you run into. There's actors who are douchey like that, but because how many times do we ever spot that shit? Face Off, for example, because that one's most notoriously known, where it's like you're watching a kick action scene and you catch like, that's not that person's face. That's another. That's a stunt.
If you go back and watch anything in the especially like the pre-CGI days, like watch any 80s action movies, watch Terminator 2. Like that ain't Arnold.
Or that's not Robert Patrick. It's like there's so many times we catch that stuff, and it's like you can get mad at it, but it's like you guys do realize that like these guys are not gonna do this shit unless your name's Tom Cruise. Which, like I said, I loved the Tom Cruise dig in that. Like I thought that was hilarious. And even with that whole thing, it set the table up, I thought, brilliantly because he had to fall, and to
And
get.
they did a whole one-er shot. They did it from the conversation on the ground all the way up the elevator, straight into him doing the stunt, so you knew it was actually Ryan Gosling and stuff like that. I just love that a director like David Leitch, who's so into directing action, but he does that elaborate thing like that. I think he's really growing as a filmmaker.
Oh, he is, and I think it's the trust in his cast, much like with Bullet Train. He had a fantastic cast with Bullet Train, and it allowed Bullet Train structurally, storyline-wise, wasn't the best. But when he let the movie, because that was the problem, it was very chop, 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 chop. When it let the movie breathe and it let you like Brian Tyree Henry, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Brad Pitt, and let them kind of just like slow down, and let them act the shit out. That's where Bullet Train was gold. And same thing with Gosling. A lot of the great moments of this was just letting Gosling go. Just let him have conversations with Emily Blunt. Let them have these conversations. And I said, my highlight scene of the movie was literally that moment where she kept making him get lit on fire and shoved back. And so hypothetically in the script, Space Cowboy and Alien Girl, and you can just see everyone in the cast just like laughing at this.
Everyone on set knows what's going on.
And what I love about it too is that like even Gosling's character was like, okay, I know what the fuck's going on. I'm not gonna get mad. I'm just like, all right, let's talk.
Don't you think the two characters in this movie would have wanted to have this conversation in private?
No. And then he gives it to the other guy. He's like, I've been in the same problem when I was in love with my wife's sister. Hey, no. Like just like putting in the little nuggets of that stuff right there. But like I said, I loved the cast of this. I loved, like I said, I bought Emily and Gosling sold their chemistry in that first scene in that one-er. I bought everything they did to the point where I was like, what the fuck? Why did you leave her? Because they didn't explain it well enough at the beginning. Where it was like, did he become angry? Was he a drunk over it? Like, and she just couldn't handle it anymore. But oh no, he just fucking ghosted her ass. Like, damn.
Well, that's just it. Is you were supposed to be basically in her shoes, where you thought that's all that happened. And it's not till later you find out, at the same time she does, what the real motivation was.
Exactly. But I like where they kind of put it at in that moment. And the other thing too is when he's valeting and the guy's like, don't put a scratch on it. He didn't put a scratch on it. He just did donuts with it. Because the whole time it's like the guy's fear was like he didn't put a scratch on it though. Like he drove that perfectly. Like if anything, he did it exactly right. You know?
I messed up the tires a little bit, but
Yeah, but it's a rental.
yeah, it's a
Why
rental.
does that fucking matter? Like just do what you want to do with it at that point. But yeah, I know we're jumping around. We're not going obviously linear.
We're not gonna do
across this whole fucking movie. The one thing that irked the fuck out of me. So we have this video. We have this cell phone, and they find this video where he kills. I think his name was Henry, the other stunt guy. Why didn't they immediately go, I'm going to send this to you. I'm going to send this to me. I'm going to send it to Jody. I'm going to send it to Gail. I'm going to send it to, it's just bam, 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 bam. Or then Dan goes, you know, if this was a movie, they'd be closing in on us right now. They should go, okay, send. No, let's just stand around like a bunch of idiots and get that phone destroyed with no, I was like, fucking send it, dude. What the fuck is wrong? It takes 2 seconds.
Well, I honestly thought once the phone got destroyed, and then he tells the guys it's destroyed. I don't even have it anymore. It's up there in the room if you want it. Go get it. And I thought that was the whole that we were going to find out. Oh, he did send it, but no.
No, it was just it was a very very stupid lapse in judgment. Yeah. At that point, it was so frustrating because I'm like, just fucking send it to yourself. Send it to Dan. There's so many times where him and Jody's like conflict could have been explained in fucking 30 seconds of dialogue. But once again, that script, that's so the movie can happen kind of thing. I get that. But that scene irritated the ever-living shit out of me when they didn't say, oh, I need to send a copy of this to myself. You know, they're after this phone. Okay, well, we'll destroy the phone. They'll think they're good. But then, you know, we have the copies. You know, because there was never a point in the movie where they ever even asked, did you send this to anybody? Did you have a copy? Probably because they didn't think they got into his phone. That's probably why they didn't think that. But that part, oh god, that part bothered me so much. And the other thing that I was a little, what
I was gonna say, what bothered me kind of around that same scene is then when they get down to the ground and he's on like that dock, and that's basically where Aaron Taylor Johnson or Tom Ryder has his James Bond villain moment where he tells him his whole plan and what he was going to do and why he did it and all that kind of stuff. What bothered me, and this is just a nitpicky thing of somebody watching the movie,
I think it's going to be the same thing I'm having a problem with.
He's doing this on this dock there, and you can see 40 buildings with 100 windows each overlooking this. It's like everybody can see what you're doing. I'm sure somebody's got their cell phone camera out there, and because there's gunshots and shit going on to get their attention. It's like, why are you doing this out in the open? That's all.
All right, that wasn't the problem that I had. Okay. My problem is that they reveal that Tom is the reason why he got hurt in the first place. He pressed the button, he dropped him because he was getting too big or whatever. And I felt like that was a big reveal, and Gosling didn't really react to it the way I would have hoped. Like, dude, you just like took away like over a year of his life because you did that. And I felt like he didn't react to that the way.
Besides the physical injury, is essentially ended his career for the time being, and ended his relationship,
exactly,
and everything. And he kind of goes, "Oh, that was you, huh?" It was basically his reaction.
I felt like that should have been a bigger, because when he said that, I was like me and my girlfriend were both just like, "Oh," and we're like, and Gosling's just like, I was like, "Are you serious? Like, come on, man! Like that deserved a bigger oomph, a bigger reaction." Because I'm more shocked at it, and it seemed like Gosling was shocked at it in the movie. We keep saying Gosling. What the Colt? I was like, what the fuck's his name? Colt. Yeah. But yeah, those are kind of like the little things here that bother me here and that. And like I said, I love Hannah, but I wasn't really crazy about the Gale character. Because it was just one of those things where my girlfriend picked up on Gale as soon as she got him the plane ticket. I just chalked her up as her just kind of being incompetent and being like, well, he was freaking out. You know, he wants out of this and stuff. So she's just trying to get him away because she realized she fucked up kind of thing. I didn't.
No, I totally, as soon as she did the plane ticket thing, especially, I was like, okay, she's in on this. She's trying to get rid of him because he's getting too close to the truth. Now, I didn't know what exactly she was in on, but I totally picked up on that, which is why at the time I started thinking, well, maybe the reason she's playing this
kind of
initially over the top is I thought you're going to turn out she, basically is some kind of Bond. It's like pull off the wig or something to be like, oh, this is really who I am. But
I
obviously, it
mean,
didn't
she
go that way.
technically was the leader of this whole thing. It wasn't Tom. It was her. She kind of was running the show.
But it was Tom Ryder's actions, though. It's just her way of getting him out of trouble.
Yeah, but it seemed like she was the boss.
Because her career basically relies on his success. So she's like, if you go down, I go down with you. So I'm going to do whatever I have to do to cover this thing up. But I thought she'd turn out to be overplayed on purpose. But no, that's just how she's playing the character, which is, it's fine. She didn't play it bad. It just seemed a little more
cartoony.
Almost one of those situations where it's almost a different movie than the rest of the cast, but not quite.
Yeah, it just seemed like everyone was well grounded, and she was kind of in a different film, like you said. Like I said, I like her. I love her. I love her. When I saw her in this, I was like, oh, yes! Like I'm so glad she's in this. And then I was like, man, every time she gets on screen, I'm kind of just like, the whole time. But and even Aaron Taylor Johnson's character to a point, because like I didn't really love the Tom Ryder character, but it's more or less because of how it was written and how it was portrayed. And I don't blame that on Aaron. I blame that on the writing of that character. Except for the Matthew McConaughey part, because that was just fucking perfect. But I loved the behind the scenes of it all. I love how we got to see how they shot the films and all that kind of stuff, and like how like the behind the scenes people were more the actual like stars of the film. I love where they had that whole day where they're kind of trying to shoot the Oneer thing in front of it's not Sydney's Coliseum. I don't know what they call that.
Oh, Sydney Opera House.
The Opera House, which has been in 2 movies in the last 6 months with Anyone But You. But like I love how like we saw like them like doing that whole like shooting setup, and how, like they had Emily Blunt like going in, going out, and then like doing everything. Like I just love like those are things that Brian and I just geek out watching. I don't know if everyone else does or not, but like that was shit there. I was like I love watching them do this. And then of course to me the biggest action scene of the movie outside of the end was the big chase sequence with in the vehicle, which they did fuck up at one point. I caught the camera fuck up on it. I don't know if you caught it either. But like when he's surfing on the back of the thing, there's one point he veers off a little too far to the right, and the camera veers with him, and you can see the police cars trying to maintain traffic so the stunt can be shot, because you can see cop lights. And at first I was like, there's the cops. Why aren't they stopping in? I was like, oh, they're not supposed to be seen. I was like, that's them shooting the actual fucking movie. That's not them there, because then they did that. It's like a and then gone, but like you could see the red and blue like sirens. It was like, oh, because it immediately took me out, because I was like, why aren't the cops stopping this high speed chase? And then they did like a bridge shot. I was like, because they're not supposed to be there, kind of thing. So it was a little snafu there, but I thought that scene was shot great. Like I said,
the whole chase scene was great. I love the way they incorporated Jean-Claude, the dog.
Yes, the dog was great.
He was great. I love that.
The whole
it's funny because like in the early scene when he was like when he kept seeing like all the different Tom Ryder posters and stuff in his apartment, I was like looking at all the movie titles and things like this, and I saw on that one the dog was called Jean-Claude. Thought nothing of it. Then later in the movie, it's like Jean-Claude. I'm like, it's him.
But I love how like him and Jean-Claude were like in a car. They both transferred to that. Was it a garbage truck? I don't know.
It's like a garbage truck. Yeah.
Was it a garbage truck? They transferred to that, and then the dog gets into
a dump truck of some kind. Yeah.
Yeah, it was some kind of dump truck. But like, and then he transfers from the truck into the dump truck into the passenger seat, and then they jump there, and then you had that part where it's spinning around and shit. Like I was just like, this is beautiful. Like this whole,
and it's beautiful because it was done practically. It's like, I know that people are sick to death of hearing 2 phrases: love letter to stunts, which I'll say every time I talk about the movie because you have to, and practical effects. And we say it because this movie shows what makes that better. Because when you're watching a movie, as good as CGI and stuff is, you can always tell when people are acting in front of a blue screen. And I'm not talking about sci-fi movies where there's planets and weird shit in the background. I'm talking this like people be fighting on a beach, and you can tell the whole background is just a blue screen, and they're on a soundstage somewhere. And they just put a beach behind them. Yeah. But this one is like, it really makes you feel like you're actually in the movie. Everything feels real. Nothing feels faked. Even though there's safety harnesses and things like that, it still feels just as thrilling as you're into the movie. You're not thinking about the other things.
Yeah, it's like the same thing when you go back to Mission Impossible 5 or 6 when Tom's on the side of the fucking airplane. Yeah, he's on the side of the fucking airplane. It's going up, but he is strapped in. You know, it's like he is cabled the fuck up. Right? Then he's like, "Hey Tom, grab a hold of that and good luck, fucking buddy." You know, it's like no, it's like come on. But like even his fight with Teresa in the apartment was a great shot. And I love at the very end. He's like, "Is this a fucking rubber sword?" Like the whole time. You know? And then it's just like, but I thought I was gonna hate this scene. And this is when I knew I was fully in love with this movie, was when he got high and the guy's like, "Oh, when you stop seeing the unicorns," and you started seeing unicorns, I'm like, "Oh, this is not gonna work for me," and it fucking did.
Yeah, first you're like, is this something out of a Carol and Kumar movie, right?
Exactly, and I wasn't sure if I was gonna like it, but every time a unicorn popped up, like it wasn't like.
But that's because he didn't overplay it. It was like he would talk to someone and be like, you know, it was just there. It didn't like make it the center of the joke, you know.
Yeah, it didn't take except for that one point where he's looking in the mirror and it's like, is he looking at a unicorn or is he looking at himself thinking he's a unicorn? But even that point, that scene where she calls him, it's like, I'm thinking about doing a split screen. And then they go split screen. They're having this whole conversation explaining the essence of a shot being split. I fucking loved that dialogue. I loved that moment. I loved that scene. Everything about that, you know, she's wearing the fucking alien thing, just like doing this, like, and he's high as a fucking kite, trying to like be a smooth talker, but knowing he's fucked up. Like, I loved that moment. Like, I love these two characters. I love
it's the best split screen. It's the best split screen scene I think I've seen since When Harry Met Sally, honestly.
Yeah, and then like I said, I love these two characters so much. Even the moment where he's in the truck and he's crying.
Sorry,
what's that?
David Leitch did the same thing in the opening of Hobbs and Shaw. It was a great split screen as well, with the dichotomy between him and Jason Statham.
I honestly have not watched Hobbs and Shaw, I think, since theaters. It's something I should resurface it at some
point. I love that movie. Anyway.
But like even the scene where he's in the truck watching her and Taylor Swift's playing and he's crying and like they have that conversation in the truck. I loved every scene with them. And then there's the moment where she thinks he's dead and he comes in the alien and she beats the ever living fuck out of him. Just beats the shit out of him. And Kimberly's going like she's gonna kill him. I go, if anything, he's impressed. And he was like, that was great. Like, oh my god, you okay? Like I would have been impressed if I snuck up on her like that and she beat the shit out of me like that. I'd be like, damn, good job. Good job. At least I know I don't have to worry about you because you fucked me up. I love that scene, like the way that was shot. Like fucking Emily Blunt, we know she's a badass.
Right after that, when
Gail's in there.
Gail's in there, you see him kind of peek out.
It's just like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? But you see her just like side eye looking like, and he's just like doing. Like I said, the comedy of this is played perfectly. I fucking love this movie. I laughed at the Jason Momoa thing, but oh my god, Jason Momoa was horribly acting that whole trailer. Probably.
The thing is, first of all, I'm glad that that's a cameo I didn't know about because it was kind of cool to have him pop up, especially when they teased it earlier with the post-it that says, "Is it Momoa?"
Yeah, exactly. It's like they gave it away. They gave it away. We didn't catch it.
I didn't think anything of it. It's a funny thing people argue about. And then he shows up, and you're like, "Oh, that's a great cameo," you know, because he's in this. We weren't, and it's one that didn't leak out. Nobody knew he was going to be in this. It's perfect. But then you think about it, it's like, would they refilm this entire film? Because they were working on the finale. Now, granted, not everything is necessarily filmed in order, but they've said they're basically finishing up the film. It's like they aren't going to pay for them to redo this movie.
Because that's the thing too. Is like Colt looks like Tom.
I thought they would just put him in the movie.
That's what I kept thinking. It's like eventually it's like, oh, Colt's going to become a fucking movie star in this movie.
And now he gets to be the one on camera, not just the background.
And you're like, no, we're going to do Jason Momoa. It's like, there's no way Colt can be the stunt double.
They redid the whole movie.
Their body structures are completely different at the end of the movie. But then you have him going, yeah. All the time. He's basically Aquaman in the movie. But yeah, that's
Aquaman's basically just Jason Momoa. Yeah,
exactly. But like, it didn't make sense because like, yeah, they would have had to have reshot that whole movie, that or like CGI'd, I guess, his body over Colt to make that work.
Yeah,
because
no.
they're just two completely different body structures for that to work. But like I loved the end sequence, like the whole big dune chase scene, or the dunes.
Which is
You
like,
added
like
all
that was
the,
one of those things where like the movie felt like it was over, and they said, "Nope, we got one more big thing in store for you."
nope. You know what? You know who deserves a spotlight? All the fucking stunt people. Stuntman war, stuntman
Oh,
brawl.
the Stuntman War, I love that.
Yes.
What
We're
did they
all
call it?
like,
It had a name for it.
oh!
Stunt something. I don't know what they called it.
And I love it was like
Circus? No, I don't know.
when they pull out the fire shoot thing and Studio 87's right there. Well, they're really making sure that you know which studio this is. It's like they're bam right there in the fucking center. But yeah, and like I love that like they didn't say it, but like when you go to the end and they're like telling you like, oh yeah, we're together, everything's great. Like he apparently created his own stunt crew because he was wearing a Fall Guy stunt team or Fall Guy productions or whatever. So it's like, oh, so like they left that out, but Colt actually started his own stuntman, firm or whatever, company or whatever. I was like, that's cool. That's really, really cool. Because they kept calling him the Fall Guy, which meant literally the Fall Guy and also the fucking Fall Guy in the movie. Yeah, I had a fucking blast watching this movie.
I will say one thing it didn't hurt the movie, but I didn't like the completely unnecessary cameos at the end. Not because first of all,
which ones?
Lee Majors and Heather Thomas.
See, I don't know the old show, so when they popped up, I'm like, I feel like I'm supposed to know what's going on here. And then once I was looking up photos for the review, I was like, oh, okay, they were the TV show guys.
Well, yeah, the problem is because like the movie really has virtually nothing to do with the TV show. The character is named Colt Seaver, and he was a stuntman. But the TV show is about this guy who, in addition to being a stuntman, is a bounty hunter in his off time because he doesn't make enough money as a stuntman to do this. So he's basically, whatever the person of the week is that he's after. This movie, aside from being about stuntmen, had nothing to do with it. But it's like that show, highlighted stuntman. The movie wanted to highlight stuntmen. They wanted to call it the Fall Guy. Great. Perfect.
I mean, it's no different. It's no different than in 21 Jump Street when Johnny Depp and the other guy popped up at the very end of the movie. When it's like,
right, but it's like I feel like that one was an outright comedy kind of more. I mean, it had some action in it, but this I thought was more of a mainstream movie. And so I think that not every movie needs to have cameos by the original people in it, and especially this one, it wasn't very good. It was kind of like, okay, this felt tacked on. Now, granted, they did it in the mid-credit scene, I believe.
No, it was no. It was actually, yeah, it was. It was the post-credit scene. It was the very.
So I can forgive it a little more if they because neither of them acted very well, honestly, and they both look way too old to be active policemen.
The girl looked like she just came off of plastic surgery, walking out of a.
Oh, and she used to be the hottest thing alive. I don't know if you've seen this girl. Like she was one of those people like posters on the wall when I was, back then.
I was like, well, she clearly isn't a cop.
Yeah, but
that's why I love that he called them like, these aren't cops, these are actors.
Yeah.
He rocks off.
Like I said, it didn't hurt the movie. I was just kind of like, it made me feel like, why does every adaptation feel like it has to have cameos from the original people? You don't have to do that. Anyway.
I mean, honestly, if I didn't do the show with you, I would have never known that this was a adaptation from a TV show. I would never have known that. Because I don't feel
the song they played. I believe the song they played while they were showing the stunts behind the scenes over the closing credits. That's the theme song from the TV show. Because I'm an unknown stunt man.
Oh, God, I thought that was just a song they made for the movie.
No, that was a theme song for the Fall Guy.
Oh, okay. All right, well, that makes more sense. Because I was like, honestly, it sounded like what was running through my brain during that song is it kind of reminded me of like I think it was like the post credits or like the credits song for like the first Jackass movie. Like it had that same kind of like song. I can't remember what song it was. But
country twang to it.
Yeah, so I was like, why is this reminding me of Jackass?
Nope.
But yeah, I also I love that people. This is how you can tell people just want to attack the movie just to attack the movie. People were attacking the film because of the Miami Vice jacket. People thought that he was basically saying that he did stunts for the TV show Miami Vice.
No, the Miami Vice stunt show.
Exactly.
He clearly says that in the movie.
Yes, people are saying that like his age doesn't make sense. He would be so much older if he did stunts for Miami Vice. Like it's no different than if someone was doing like the Universal Studios Waterworld, which is still a fucking show.
That's what they were saying. He does stunt show like that.
But people say,
and that's even how Emily Blunt's character knows that he was still alive after the boat crash. She's recognized that, and she goes, "The Miami Vice stunt show, like 100, what was it, 100 performances or whatever he said."
Yeah, it's just people just chalked it up that was just the TV show. I was like, no, it's lit. Oh God! But like what I say, it's people not paying attention to the movie and just want to attack something just to attack it. It's just like you guys aren't like that's a huge essence of his character right there. You know, it's also with Gosling, it's always a fucking jacket. It's always a jacket thing with him, like whether it's Drive or I think didn't Place Beyond the Pines also have a jacket thing in there. It's always a jacket thing with Gosling. Like I don't hate it. It's just something I've noticed. Yeah. Anything else you'd like to add for the Fall Guy before we end this?
No, except you should all go see it like 5 times and tell everyone you know to go see it because it needs to make some money. I'm not saying it's not gonna have a sequel or anything. It's not that kind of movie, but I want it to do well because original content. Yes, it's an adaptation of TV, but it's really basically an original movie. Everyone involved with it, David Leitch, I wanted to see success. I love that. I want people to support that. Yes, we love and enjoy practical stunts. And one last time, I'm going to say, go watch Action. If you love the stunts in this movie, you'll enjoy that show.
And I love that they actually promoted that on before the movie started with Gosling and Leitch. They promoted that show, which like I said, until you mentioned it, I didn't know that existed. So that's something that I will actually definitely check out.
Yeah, trailer popped up like 4 days before it came on, and then like even the day it was out, I had like searched for that title on Peacock. It wasn't even like on their main page. I'm like, why are they burying this? But
not because they don't care enough about
check it out.
But yeah, but yes, 94%, 4 out of 5 or 4.5 stars for me, 4.5 stars out of Brian. Are both our number one movie of the year currently. So definitely go check this out. I did not have the luxury of seeing this in IMAX. Did you get to see it in IMAX?
I did see it in IMAX, although I did not get to see the new Twister trailer that you got to see. So.
Yes, there was a brand new Twister.
I hope after the trailers a lot, or well into the trailers. And
yes, I got so damn excited. I was like, oh, Twister's trailer. I was like, why didn't Brian tell me this? I texted him. I was like, you didn't tell me there was a Twister's trailer. There wasn't one. I was like, yes, there was.
There was. It just happened before I got there.
Yes. But anyway, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you guys did, go and hit that like, share, and subscribe button to the channel so you guys stay up to date with all the latest videos that pop up on the Movie Crusaders. Of course, you have to follow some of the social media outlets you see below. Also, coming up next, I have another review roundup where I will review 5 movies that I've seen recently, and those movies are Challengers, Late Night with the Devil, Boy Kills World, Unfrosted, and The Idea of You. That'll be up on the channel here shortly as well with this. Next, we got Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, one of my more anticipated films of the summer. I'm a huge recent trilogy Planet of the Apes fan. I'm not going to say I'm a Planet of the Apes franchise fan because I don't care about the other ones. I love the recent trilogy, so I'm excited to see this one coming out. So we definitely will have a review for that as soon as I see it. We'll have it up on here on the channel. And then, of course, like I said, it's summer movie season. Check out our summer movie premiere where we were going over every movie that comes out during between now and August. A lot more videos coming up. I'm sure Brian and I will be popping up here again for another Movie Crusaders chat about. What we're going to talk about, who knows? It's kind of whatever happens at that point. But until next time, in case we don't see you, go watch the movies, go have some fun, and go watch The Fall Guy.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.